Now, a word about animals on the Mark Thompson Show.
And our guide through the world of animals is Karen Dawn. Hi, Karen.
Good to see
She
you.
of DawnWatch, which is the daily animal world news watch. You can find they have a very robust following on Facebook, and I subscribe so I get Karen's offerings in my inbox. Tells you kind of what's happening and the way it's being covered worldwide with issues that involve animals, small, big, and everything in between. What's up today, Karen?
Well, one of the main things DawnWatch tries to do is to encourage animal advocates to be in touch with the media. And one of the things we do is send off letters to the editor. And as well as telling people on my list, please write, I write as well. And, the folks on your who listen to your podcast may be aware that the Los Angeles Times has had a pretty major turnover of late, which happened around the time they decided not to endorse Harris, and people were given employees, they were given the right to leave if they wanted to. And for the animal world, that mattered in one way, in that we lost a letters editor who we were mad about, crazy about, because he was so willing to share our letters that share the animals' point of view on things. The good news is we didn't know what was going to happen, but last week under a different editor, and I'm not sure who it is now and whether it's a permanent fixture, but both Elaine Livesey-Thassell and the inimitable Elaine Livesey-Thassell, incredible activist, and I had letters published in the Los Angeles Times in response to an article mentioning that the salmon fishing season was going to be canceled again in California because there are not enough fish. And Elaine and I both had letters published. And not only, thank you for sharing that, Tony, not only did we have letters published, but they were displayed such that we got the headline, and the main headline was about animals. And Tony, I don't know if you can scroll that up slightly so that I can read it, because I've forgotten exactly what it was. But the headline underneath the letters there, but it was, here it is, an obligation to undo our impact. And that was what Elaine's letter talked about, the fact that because of things like climate change, and what I love about Elaine is that she did a particular shout out about the impact of big agriculture on the salmon, on the waterways, and with water being diverted from the salmon spawning grounds to the beef fields and the factory farms. And we are putting the salmon population in major danger. Now, of course, that matters to the salmon fishing folk, and it matters to all those folks who love to eat salmon. But as an animal advocate, what I focused on in my letter was that it matters most to the animals who rely on salmon for their food, who cannot switch to tofu and beans and hummus and quinoa and all the wonderful things that we can eat instead of eating salmon. So we have now 73 orcas left in the Puget Sound area in the Pacific Northwest. There were 75 2 years ago. They're extremely endangered. They are starving for lack of Chinook salmon. And I sent Tony a New York Times article from a couple of years ago. And I've provided a gift link to this, which I hope you guys will include on the segment of that goes up on YouTube.
Yeah, we can put it underneath underneath your video. Yeah,
because I sent a gift link, and if we can see the headline to that, Tony, I don't know if you can scroll up so that we can look at that, and I can read that headline. Might have to put my glasses on unless you can see it.
It says starving orcas and the fate of Alaska's disappearing king salmon. Yeah, right. That's what you're talking about. Yeah,
exactly. So it's the Chinook salmon. It's the California our letters were in response to the California salmon fishing season being canceled because there just are not enough salmon. But if folks think, oh, well, I can go buy Alaskan salmon, yes, you can. But what that article in the New York Times is about is, well, should we be fishing salmon? Because we've got, and it's not only orcas who are dying, but people do tend to feel a lot for orcas. So it's useful to mention we are losing them fast because they've got no salmon to eat. So if for health reasons, you are moving away from beef and red meat and onto salmon, I hope folks will be aware that they are contributing to the losses of species such as orcas. It's not just orcas, thousands of penguins. It's funny, I remember your previous guest mentioned the penguin movie. Thousands of them washed up on South American shores a couple of years ago with empty stomachs. I mean, these sea mammals, sea birds, all of them need fish to eat. And we are draining the oceans and the waterways fast. So again, when California mentions, hey, there's not enough salmon, we're going to cancel our salmon fishing season. While it matters to us, it matters a lot more to the animals who just don't have other choices.
So let me just ask you, though, as a follow-up then, is it the overfishing that has led to this, or is it the general conditions of the ocean? What has led to this free fall in the population of these fish?
It's a mix. So when the Los Angeles Times covered it, it mentioned particularly, that we've got heat, the waterways are heating up, and so that the spawning grounds are not they're not good for the eggs, and the eggs die in the hot waters. And then it is the diversion of the waterways that are going to big agriculture to farm meat, and so we have screwed up the California waterways. But without doubt, overfishing has played a massive role. And there was a movie called The End of the Line, which I saw maybe a decade ago, and I think still it's the most important movie perhaps I ever saw. It just talks about that fact that we are emptying the oceans. And when we empty the oceans, we of all the fish, we empty them. And, it's sad that people don't care about fish. And, a lot of us grew up with these myths that fish aren't sentient and they have memories of 11 seconds when in fact it's years. I mean, it's just been a myth. But, and I'd love to actually talk a lot another day about fish and what we know about them now. But when we empty the oceans of fish, we are destroying the oceans. As Captain Paul Watson says, when the oceans die, we die. And so that's what's going on, is that we are eating far too many fish because there's so many of us. And we are killing off, as I said, the southwestern, the orcas around the Puget Sound area in Seattle are down to 73. That's all that's left.
But as you say, and you correctly point out, I mean, the fish populations are depended on by all of these other species as well. So it's not just the orcas, but I mean, the orcas do tend to get the headlines. As you say, we kind of feel connected to them.
Right. And I wanted to mention, like, the orcas eat Chinook salmon in particular. Something else that is having a horrifying impact on the oceans is the omega-3 supplement business. People learned that omega-3s, that are the reason salmon is good for you, is because it has omega-3s in it. And so people started getting their omega-3s from supplements. These are mostly made up of anchovies. And we are decimating the oceans as we pull billions and billions of anchovies out of them. Larger fish eat the anchovies, and then the seals and the penguins and the other fish eat those larger fish. And again, we're just destroying the oceans for these omega-3 supplements. There's a question as to how much they actually help us or not. But something I learned while researching Thanking the Monkey is that algae has the same omega-3s that salmon has, because the salmon eat the algae. They store it in their bodies, then we eat the salmon. We can take out that middleman who the orcas and other animals rely on, the salmon, by eating the algae ourselves. So I do still take omega-3 supplements, But I take algae supplements, and if you just look up vegan omega-3, that's what they're made of. And it's the same stuff that is in salmon, but without the salmon.
Oh, that's great. That's a great substitute. I love it.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I was just remembering that there's a book called What a Fish Knows.
Jonathan Balcom's book.
Exactly. And it's so terrific. And if you want to visit with some of what Karen Dawn is talking about, What a Fish Knows really is a great book for that. It you know, again, draws on the latest science. It gives you a sense of what fish are about, and you just have no idea till you check this book out. So What a Fish Knows is what it's called. I'd love to get him on the show too sometime.
Yeah, he's a delight. And I just want to mention, you know, as I said, when I was growing up, I was told they weren't sentient and they have memories of 11 seconds. And no, it actually turns out some of them use tools and some of them mate for life. So it's just completely different from everything we were taught. But still, the orcas do not have any choice but to eat them, whereas we do. So it's something really important to think about with our fish oils and our salmon passion, that we're just emptying the oceans.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's a world that we don't know because it is underwater. I mean, but I mean, the beauty, the mating rituals, the society. I mean, it's all of these things, the sentience, the feelings, the fear, they have it all. And there is this thing that we do where we delude ourselves. Thank you for putting it up there. What a Fish Knows. Jonathan Balcom. The inner lives of our underwater cousins. Yeah, I
love talking about animals with you. I love how much you know about these issues, Mark. That it's wonderful.
Well, they're so very important. So
Can I end on a happy note?
Yes, please.
I love that the Penguin movie was mentioned before because
Yes.
we have another animal movie that has just come out, and the Los Angeles Times has done a rave review of The Friend. And I have not here. I think Tony's about to put up the hilarious looking photo from The Friend with Naomi Watts walking this huge Great Dane. I have not seen The Friend yet. I can't wait to see it because I read the book, which won all sorts of awards. I'm trying to remember if it won the Pulitzer or the Booker, one or the other. And it was one of a series of a trilogy that Sigurd Nunes wrote. And the first one, The Friend, about this woman who inherits a Great Dane from her very best friend who just took his own life. And the book is about her relationship with this Great Dane, and it's hilarious and it's touching. And I actually listened to it on tape, and which was beautifully read. I get my books out of the library and download the audio, but the Los Angeles Times has raved about this movie, and I'm excited to see it. And people are saying it's Naomi Watts' best work ever.
Wow.
I'm sure the dog has done a beautiful acting job as well. I'm not generally a big fan of animal actors, and there has occasionally been times when Winky, speaking of animal actors, my dog is drinking here while I'm trying to talk to you. I don't know if you can hear that. When there have been problems, but I think in general, dog actors do much better than other animal actors do. And I have a feeling that this dog is treated beautifully, both on set and off set. And I'm excited to see the movie.
Well, the treatment of animals on sets has definitely improved from the old days. That's for sure. Find Karen Dawn across the universe online, which encompasses Facebook and encompasses just her website. There it is, DawnWatch.com. And I also think, as I say, that Facebook community that you've built is really a big one. So again, DawnWatch is on Facebook as well. It's the daily animal world news watch, and you can find her here first Monday of every month. Karen, really appreciate your visits, and thank you.
Great to see you. Thank you.
Be well. Karen Dawn, everybody.
Join the flock. Again next time for a word about animals on the Mark Thompson Show.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.